Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. Listen to the ThunderCast anywhere you listen to your favorite audio podcast. And of course, if you want to watch us, you can find us on the ThunderCast YouTube channel. Normally, I have somebody else to the side of me here doing the show, but as you can tell, that is not Russ Livingood. This is Marshall softball head coach Morgan Zerkle. We're going to talk about the 2026 Herd softball team and what she expects from the season this year. But first, right out of the gate, I got to say, Morgan, thanks for sitting down so close to the start of the season and kind of familiarizing the Herd fans with your roster and what your expectations are for this team this year. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited. We have a lot of new faces. We did graduate a good amount of people. So, some people that have been here that are just getting their opportunities, and excited to see them flourish in that, as well as a pretty heavy freshman class, a transfer that we have. So a little bit new look to us, but some of familiar faces with Abby Darnley, Diamond Leslie, and several of our pitchers returning as well. So lots to look forward to, and lots of possibilities for where we could go this season.
I know, and I love to hear things like a new look and will this be a different Herd team than we saw last year in the way you guys play? Because in years past, we've seen Herd teams win with power, we've seen them win with speed, we've seen them win with a combination of everything. And obviously, anytime I get an opportunity to talk to you, I think about your teams and how you guys won games when you were a player. And you guys were some of the most exciting teams to watch. A lot of stealing bases and a lot of just heads up aggressive base running. And that is a part of the game that I absolutely love. So I love when that is in the Herd's repertoire. But we can't really talk about this season until we revisit last season a little bit. So I want to touch base on that and see where we came from and where we're going. Last year, it was a 31-23 season, 15-9 in the Sun Belt Conference. You did rip off a great 17-5 record at the dot, which we absolutely love. That was good enough for second in the SBC standings, which is pretty awesome. This year, preseason projected fifth. But we all know it doesn't matter where you start, it's where you end. So I got to ask, Coach, when you look at last season and the momentum the program built, what's the biggest thing that you wanted to carry forward into this year? And how intentional were you about that during the offseason?
Yeah, I think the past 2 years we've been, a big offensive threat within the conference. And even though we did lose a good chunk of our lineup, I think instilling the confidence in our new hitters to step in and pick up right where we left off. I hope they're able to do that. But we've really focused on, growing our pitching staff and, developing those arms to, it's a lot of the same faces, but they're so much better from what we've seen, this preseason, just scrimmaging each other. So I'm excited to see our pitching really step up this year and be able to keep us in games longer to give our hopefully really competitive offense a chance to pull out some more wins.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that part of the game then, offensive identity and the leadership behind that. We talk about preseason All-SBC selection Diamond Leslie, what she meant to this team last year. So offensively, what do you want this team's identity to be? And how does somebody like Diamond help set the tone for how you want this Herd team to play?
Yeah, I think right now when we're aggressive in practice and swinging early in the count, we're really good hitters. So I think an aggressive mindset up to the plate, and just having faith in the swings that we've developed and the power that we do have We have a good mix of power and speed. You know, Diamond is an example of that herself. I mean, she snagged quite a few home runs last year, but also is very talented to leg out some triples for sure, get some stolen bases. So I would say our team will be a good mix this year. We'll definitely hit a few home runs, hit the gaps with some doubles, but we also have, you know, we have speed. We have Paige and Diamond from last year who definitely can steal bases. We have some freshmen, and Sid Turner, who's a slapper, and Michaela Taylor, who can steal some bases. So hopefully we have a little bit of everything, but that our mindset is aggressive, whether that's running the bases or swinging the bat early in the count. We want to make sure we're attacking pitchers and making them know what we're capable of.
That's what I like to hear. Now, one big name that we have not talked about yet, that we talked a little bit about leading in, is where you might see the return of the Bella Bomb in the lineup this year, right? That's a name that folks are really familiar with from a couple of years ago, and took a red shirt last year and back in the Herd lineup this year. Bella Gerlach, big time power hitter for the Herd. I know you got to be excited to get Bella back in the lineup.
For sure. She's gotten really hot this January. I'm almost like, okay, save some for February. But she's really learned a lot in that year that she took off, and is such a smarter hitter and player, and she's able to help out her other teammates as well with that knowledge. So we're excited her to come back stronger than ever and really, you know, make a dent in this lineup for sure.
Heck yeah, man. This sounds like a lot of weapons top to bottom in this Herd lineup, and I have no doubt that even past the 9 in the lineup at any given time, there's probably a handful more that are more than capable. But you did mention early leading into this episode about roster turnover, growth, youngsters, development, that whole kind of thing. And you mentioned it earlier. Every offseason brings about change. So how did you balance replacing some of those great players from the past 3 or 4 years that Herd fans have been accustomed to watching in the lineup, while also creating opportunities for the returners to get their chance and to grow into expanded roles with some of these youngsters too?
Yeah, I think a key for us has been that a lot of the returners were working while they waited. And I think that's huge for us to, you know, it's not like they just got the opportunity this year. You know, they've maybe for a year or so been working really hard to then be able to be ready for this opportunity. So I'm excited to see a lot of those step up to the plate. And I think just early in this preseason, I mean, we have 12 games in 10 days in Florida, giving all of them their opportunities and seeing who rises to the occasion. And it's going to be fun to see.
It is absolutely going to be fun. Herd softball is always exciting. If nothing else, Herd softball is very exciting and easy to watch and fall in love with, as one of the premier programs at Herd Athletics. Let's talk about some leadership, and a lot of that leadership, since this is a very young team, not a lot of seniors on this team. One of those leadership positions in particular comes behind the plate, and we're talking about catchers, specifically Abby Darnley and Tia also taking some rep behind the plate. So you have strong depth behind the plate with Abby and Tia. From a head coach's perspective, how does that level of trust at the catcher position impact everything else on the field?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about our pitching staff and how we want them to really step up this year. And part of that goes with their connection with the catchers. I think both Abby and Tia have done a really phenomenal job of just communicating with them, learning when to call timeouts and scrimmages, when they, you know, what kind of advice they need when they start to struggle a little bit. So, you know, Abby as a senior and Tia as someone who's just been learning since the second she stepped on campus. I'm excited for them to really get their shot to make a statement this year with our pitchers and with themselves too.
Yeah. So often that the skill set that goes behind being a great catcher just goes unnoticed by a lot of casual fans. And I consider myself a casual fan as well. I don't know the first thing about the nuance and science behind game control as a catcher, but as a coach, is there a certain level of relief that comes along with having, what do you call them? Field generals is the football term. Is that what you call your catchers from a softball term?
Yeah, they really are managing a lot, and I think a huge asset we use them for is, as with when you're pitch calling and trying to make decisions of even pitcher changes, that communication with the catcher, with our pitching coach and me, and yeah, this pitcher is getting outs, but how does she look? Is she getting outs because she's hitting her spots and doing what she's supposed to? Or should we make some of those changes? Or maybe we should pitch them differently a little bit second time through the lineup. Where are they on the plate? Those sort of things. And our catchers to be able to see those things and us to be able to trust them to relay that information is really important. And I have a lot of faith that Abby and Tia can do that for us.
I think so as well. Obviously, you do a great job in recruiting and developing players. I have absolutely no reason to think that this isn't a top tier spot for you and an area of emphasis. But when you flip that around, you look at the other side of the battery, you're getting into the Zerkle now. And is this one of the deepest pitching rotations you've had? Is this something you've been building towards year one over year two, year three? Do you feel better about your lineup in the Zerkle this year?
I think our quality is definitely higher. I mean, we have the same main arms coming back, and that's what a lot of people ask. Like, did you get transfers? And no, the answer is no. We bought into the pitchers that we had, and just are making them better. And I think Paige and Jules are going to be elite for us this year, and Maddie Veal, who's only a sophomore, is going to really step up and take some innings as well. And then we do have a freshman in Rylan, who is a freshman that's eager to learn and going to go out there and throw her best. And it may be inconsistent at times, but she's going to definitely give us some innings. And then we have Kalia as a good drop baller as well if needed. So it's good to know they're getting better, and I think that's the biggest thing, is to see them have that success in practice. And we have a good offense, so to know that they're keeping our offense off balance even though they're facing them day in and day out, I'm really excited to see what they can do against other people.
That's a really good point. Obviously, this herd offense you're billing it as a really explosive type offense. And if these girls are able to keep them in check, that says something, right?
Yeah.
But I'm glad you mentioned Paige. Of course, we're talking about Paige Maynard and Jules King. What is let me put it this way. When you evaluate this staff as a whole, this pitching staff as a whole, what's the personality type of this group, and how have your leaders like Paige and Jules helped to shape that personality of this group?
I mean, pitchers are always a little quirky. They're a little high maintenance, but this group is competitive. And I think, I mean, today we were off and I heard a pitcher in there throwing, and I'm like, you just threw a scrimmage yesterday, like, and you're going and working on a pitch on your own on your Monday off day. And I think that just says a lot about how much this pitching staff wants to have their teams back and be elite this year. And I think they're all like that, from the freshmen down to the upperclassmen that have been here. They really want to be able to put the team on their back and do their best and step up. So I think that says a lot about them, and they're not willing to accept where they've been in past years, and they're ready to keep climbing.
Yeah, this stuff like that as a fan tells me we're here, we want to be here, and ultimately we want to be here. And it's getting over the hump and trying to get to that conference championship game and win that bad boy. It's like so close yet so elusive. And it's those little things when you're doing it when you don't have to. This. You're a great player. It's what you're doing when you don't have to do it that oftentimes can make the difference between a win and a loss. And hearing that type of stuff as a fan just makes you feel good. It's like, okay, we're not putting in what we're told to put in. We're doing a little bit more because we want to. We want to get better. We love where we're at, right? We love the school. We love our coaching staff. We just want to be better. We want to be the best we can be, and I love that as a fan. You talk about your pitchers, you talk about your catchers and the relationship between them. We know that's an important relationship, but what does that communication look like behind the scenes during preparation and in-game adjustments? Like for folks like me that don't really know what they're looking at, but they want to know the nuance. They want to know the signs.
Yeah, I mean, pitching is so much of timing and feel. And some days pitchers do it without having to think twice. Everything's flowing, everything's working, and other days something's off. And for the catcher to be able to give that feedback when they see that something's off, and it may be mechanical, something that they're doing different. And most of the time with pitching, it kind of is to some extent. They're just not the release point, or they're not feeling it. But for our catchers to have a really good relationship with all of them, I think that makes a difference. And Coach Drew stepping in and being able to help facilitate those conversations a little bit. I think our pitchers have learned this year how to make adjustments when those things come up, right? Because no one's going to just wake up every morning and everything's going to feel good. But when it doesn't feel good, what routines and things can I do to try to get that? Or how can I be effective without maybe one of my pitches? And if I'm not effective that day, so-and-so is going to have my back. And that's the nice thing about, feeling a little bit deeper, that we can go to multiple of the pitching options to still get the job done. As well as kind of playing around with matchups. We have a couple pretty high velo throwers, but one's more down, one's more up. Maddie Veal is going up and down pretty well this year. So being able to look at those matchups and see what pitcher is going to have the best success off of this lineup because of how they swing. And a lot of teams swing very different. So
it's kind of the whole point, right? It's kind of the whole game within the game. And I caught you mention you mentioned assistant coaches in there, and there are a few faces that are new to the Herd staff this year. I want to give you an opportunity to sing their praises a little bit and what they bring. I don't know if every fan has paid attention and notices these things like we notice them and try to get out to the fan base. But there are some new faces on your staff this year. Let's mention those folks and what they bring to the table for you this year.
I'll start with Coach Drew, who's been working with our pitchers, and I know the pitchers really confidently feel that they have made a lot of progressions. And, part of that is just being a freshman to a sophomore to a junior. And part of that, too, is learning from different people and the different nuances, and some things that didn't click with one coach clicks with another. And I know Drew's been really dedicated to watching so much film and trying to figure out how can I make each of them at their best. And I'm excited to see how they continue to work together throughout season and, make adjustments. Last year, I feel like we started out really hot and we didn't end where we wanted to. So I think he's going to be really watching the film and doing all the things necessary to keep us where we want to be. And if not, getting better towards the end of season, because we're learning from each game. Yeah. But I also have Riley Blampede on staff. She's been working with our outfielders and helping with some defensive stuff as we move into season. And she's definitely, giving them what they deserve. I kind of, slacked in the outfield a little bit because I like to focus on hitting. So she's been a great addition and just fits in really well with our staff personality. And then my two grad assistants, Steven, who's been here a little bit, and then Olivia Bruno, just helps so much as far as providing catchers and BP arms, and just helps our staff function a lot better. Yeah. And I can't go without mentioning Allie, who's been here since day one, but steps up more and more each year to take on more tasks and more roles and make this team better.
Yeah, how can you can't forget the great Allie Harrell. Everybody loves Allie. Look, we've also talked a couple of times about how this is a overall pretty youthful roster. So let's talk about integrating, not many transfers, but newcomers and freshmen with a relatively young roster class coming in, the new players coming in. What are those non-stat things that you look for early? The habits, the competitiveness, the mindset, those things that tell you, okay, this player's ready to contribute.
Yeah, I think, a couple of those hitters like Ramey George, who's been here, but has, saw some pinch hit opportunities last year and really stepped up to the plate multiple times. So she's been someone who's been pretty consistent in live at bat. So seeing her, may not have the experience on paper, but she is a junior and she is someone that the team sees as a leader. She's on our leadership committee. So to see what she's capable of this year, we have Sid Burko, who is a sophomore transfer from Indiana, who is at home and loving being a part of the herd. So I think with that, newfound confidence and being happy where she's at, and I think she's ready to thrive. And she always gives, Coach Drew, who's trying to get our hitters out, really competitive at bats. Same with, multiple of them. Tia, who, hasn't been in there too much, but you've seen a glimpse of her and she has some power and what she can do. Bella's back. Chandler came in last year a little late, and she's struggling a little bit with injury, but she'll be around. And then you have some freshmen like, Sid Turner, who I mentioned is a speedy lefty, and we really only have 2 lefties in our lineup this year, potentially, with Sid and Haley, who's coming back. So, there'll be a lot of new faces, but some of them, like I said, have been around the herd or love the herd and familiar with it. It's just now getting them the experience in the spotlight.
Yeah. I looked up and down the roster there and I tried to do a quick count. And because this is something that seems to resonate, obviously, with a lot of the herd fan base. And I noticed you had, I think it was 8 in-state players that call West Virginia home. Is that a point of emphasis for you, or is it just like, hey, we're after the best we can get, period? If you happen to be from the Mountain State, awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm purposely targeting, but I want to make sure that if they are legit good players in West Virginia, that they stay here.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes to just the growth of softball and the development we're able to do here too. How we're able to help those West Virginia kids, get here, but then like develop throughout their 4 years too. I mean, Ava Blake's a great example of that. She, came here as a camper and I got to see her, and then her growth last year as a freshman and now a sophomore. And she's a completely different kid now than she was a couple years ago. So I think, getting them here and seeing that they have the ability and the talent and giving them the teaching and the education to thrive is something I'm definitely passionate about. Because, I was that kid once that maybe didn't have the most developed coaching growing up.
Well, it's also a vastly under-recruited state in every sport, it seems like. So when you get an opportunity to keep good kids at home and make an in-state program obviously more successful, I just feel like that's something you want to do. There's a great player that just graduated last year that we rooted for ever since we started this show, and we became friends with her parents. And it was really it was really sad to see her leave her playing days behind, but it was really great to see her land a coaching job. And of course, I'm talking about Riley Lucas. And so it's an in-state kid, and it was a story you could get behind, and one make you feel good. So anytime you can give these in-state kids a chance, now that obviously I get it, they got to earn it, but if they're good enough, why not? Right? Why not? Mm-hmm. I got a handful more for you, and then I'll give you back your evening. What does success look like for you in 2026 when you zoom out and at the end of the season and we look at the whole thing? And obviously we don't know what the wins and losses are going to look like. We don't know what tournament berths are going to look like and accolades. But when you zoom out and look at it all, what are you hoping to see? What is success for you in 2026?
Yeah, something our team has talked about before is the difference in success and significance. And I think knowing the type of people we have on our roster this year, I'm really proud of, I think the legacy they're leaving at Marshall, and, something our staff is passionate about, but every year making it better. And by better, it's, leaving it better than we found it. And that's one of their core principles, and something I think they actually, truly believe and want to happen. So, I want them to, feel like they have either graduated or left this year feeling like they gave their all to Marshall softball, and that we did the best to coach them up to have the opportunities to be successful. And of course, I want success to be a Sun Belt championship and an NCAA regional appearance. Absolutely. And, that is our goal. And that's first and foremost. And we've, you know, developed our roadmap to get there for sure. But I most of all want them to enjoy this experience and, look back and be proud of what they did accomplish, no matter what that is.
I like that. First of all, it's got to be championship or bust. Any good coach is going to say that, right? But I know there are other things that come along with that, and each individual player has what success looks like to them. And I think obviously you as a coach has what you think success looks like for player A versus B versus C. And with that, with this championship mentality, um, there has been a marked change in the way we've seen early season scheduling during your tenure. You are absolutely not afraid to challenge this team early, and I I think I know why, but I want to hear you tell me why. So, what is it about the way you choose to schedule specifically early on, or why is it you do what you do?
I mean, there's a few different reasons. I feel like the most obvious is the Sun Belt's a competitive conference. And I think for us to be able to step up and truly, you know, try to dominate against some very good teams, like we need to be playing the best teams. And I think we saw that work out last year at the beginning of the season when we played some really hard schedule. And then we beat Louisiana and killed their 89th game win streak or series win streak. And then we beat Texas State 2 out of 3 times. And you see, we actually did a little bit worse towards the end than at the beginning. And I can't help but want to contribute, that success at the beginning to, our preseason playing the best of the best. So then Louisiana and Texas State, it was just another game. It's not like, ooh, we're playing, that the preseason, conference champion. Like, no, it's another team, and they're not as good as who we played the weekend before. So that's a huge part of it. And another part is just giving our players that experience of going, like this year, going to Florida State, going to Florida, playing in those stadiums and that atmosphere against those opponents and challenging yourself. Because if we want to compete in regionals, which, was the best memory of my collegiate career, was getting to compete in regionals. And the more you play in those stadiums against those teams, the more it's just another team. And when you're in regionals, it's not as, oh my goodness, we're here, this is scary. But hey, we've been here before. We've played these teams before. And we did what we needed to get here. So I think it's, setting yourself up for success in the long run, as well as giving your team some, memorable experiences of playing those teams.
Yeah, I I like it. I love that. I love the let's test our team early. Let's see what we're made of early. So when we get into the throes of the SBC conference schedule, that it's just another weekend series. It was awesome to end that record of Louisiana. That was pretty cool. Somebody had to do it, and why not the Kelly Green and White? That was awesome.
Right.
But also, I love you're talking about that, and I'm sitting here thinking like, well, like it might be just another weekend series. We're not taking it too big, but they've also got to beat you. You know what I mean? It's like we're a pretty good damn team too, and then you got to beat us too. And that comes along. I just got to come along with the confidence of playing that rough early season schedule. As Herd fans get ready for the season, which is coming up really really quick, are there one or two maybe players that are on this roster right now that they don't know very much about, but you feel really confident by the middle towards the end or the end of the season, they're absolutely going to know who these players are?
Yeah, I would say one would be Sydney Burko, just because she transferred from Indiana, so she hasn't been in the Kelly Green before, but she grew up in Huntington. Her family's from Huntington, so familiar in that aspect. If you know softball and know those people, but she's been really stellar for us at third base so far, and I think she's someone that has a lot of power in her bat, and if she's confident and feeling good, a lot of great things are going to happen. So I think she's someone you're going to want to track and see how she does. And then I think, I'll pick a pitcher since I picked a pitter, but I think, Maddie Veal, who, was here last year, but just didn't get as many innings. She came off a little bit of injury in a fall. She's, become a very different pitcher than she was in the past. And I'm excited to see her get opportunities and, be able to get some wins under her belt.
There you go. Couple straight from the coach to pay attention to other than the names that you already know on this Herd softball roster. First game at the Dot looks like it's going to be in early March. You guys are on the road for all of February. So March 6th is the home opener at the Dot. You guys better have your butts in the bleachers, out in the outfield, ready to cheer on Herd softball. There's nothing like Dot Magic when it comes to the Herd. Morgan, I'm going to get you out of here on the last question. Tell me the number one thing that Herd fans can do right now to support your program.
I think just following, our girls love to see, the social media reaction, following on Twitter, Facebook, watching games, like tuning into ESPN Plus when, if you can't be at the Dot, and staying up to date. Of course, financially, we can always use your help too, because we are traveling for the whole month of February, which, we need a lot of support for that. And we're thankful for the community that has stepped up and already helped us to be able to kind of do some of those things with this crazy weather we're experiencing. But really following our team, interacting with our players, they're always looking for NIL opportunities, whether that's, free smoothies or some free food every once in a while. But they're always looking for ways to interact with the community. And I will say our team's leading Marshall sports right now in their community service hours. So they're a group that really, really loves Huntington and the people, and they deserve all the support they can get.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll definitely put a link to your championship fund in the description of this episode so people can find it when they listen to this. They just are one click away from the Herd Softball Championship Fund. Then, of course, those championship funds are donations that go directly to that particular sport. This is not into a general fund. If you make a donation to softball, it's going to go directly to softball. So we're going to help them out. And of course, the best I can offer you, as it goes with the Thundercast, if you got girls that want to come on the show and get their stories out there, we're glad to talk to them. We'll help get spotlights on them. We love to do that kind of stuff. We are always willing to get our Herd athletes out there to a bigger audience. It's something that we absolutely love to do. Morgan, I'm going to get you out of here. I appreciate your time getting everybody ripped, roaring, and ready to go for 2026 Herd softball, familiarizing us with some of the players on the roster, where the strengths are on this roster, some of the things we can expect as we watch the girls play at Dot Hicks Field on March 6th, everybody. So whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Cam, or you see us at the Dot, no matter where you see us, we're going to be safe. Go Herd. We'll see you next time. Later.